everyone! My name is Frankie Fiber.
And I'm Fiona Fiber.
And together we are
the Fiber Friends!
Welcome to today's STEAM adventure with the Anaheim Public Library. Today, our STEAM adventure is Weave with Yarn. So we're gonna learn how to weave. We're gonna show you how to make 2 different kinds of looms to make unique weavings on your own at home. You might have the STEAM Adventures kit that you picked up from the library or at an outreach event, and you can use the materials in there to make your weaving with us today. If you don't have the kit, that's totally okay, because all of the materials we're using are very easy to come by, and you can still join us by watching now, and you can also tune back in later to review and weave some more with us again over the summer. Let's get started.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
All right, so we're gonna get started with our first project, which is a straw loom. At the end of this project, you'll have something like this that looks like a bookmark that you can use for all the books you check out from the library. All you need to get started are your straws, your string, and some tape. The first step in creating the straw loom is you need to grab your straws. You can use a different number, either 3 or 4. For this time, we're gonna use 4 straws. Now you're gonna kind of put them together so they're in line, like that. And we're gonna grab a piece of tape. The tape is gonna be placed at wherever the bottom of your loom is. So I'm gonna place it down here, just like that. And you wanna make sure just to leave a little bit of space in between. So it's gonna kind of look like this when you first start. Next, you're gonna grab some yarn to start weaving on your loom. So let me grab that. Now in your kit, if you have it or if you don't, you're just gonna want a pretty long piece of yarn. This is just to kind of get us started, so mine looks a little bit shorter. But you're gonna grab a piece and leave a little tail like that. Then you're gonna put your yarn in the middle of the first 2 straws like that. So it kind of looks like this. You have a little tail and your string is through the front of it. Now once you do that, you're gonna start weaving. So you're gonna grab your piece of yarn and go over the first straw like that, then under the next straw like that, over, and then you'll be at the end of the first line of your weaving like so. So it's gonna look like this. Once you get to the first end, make sure you go around that last straw like that. And then you're gonna repeat the same pattern going across the other way. So you're gonna go under, over, under, and then now you're back at the end, so you're gonna go over, under, over, and under like so. As you go, you're gonna see that the little rows are kind of spaced out, so just keep kind of pushing them down with your fingers as you continue to weave. So I'm going to show you one that I've worked on before, so you can kind of see how it'll look once you continue to weave across your loom. So this is one that I worked on, and there was parts where I ran out of string like this, so I just tied it together with another piece and continued weaving. So you can use a lot of different colors. I'm just going to show you how to finish your bookmark, and to do that you're gonna just continue to weave like I showed you before until you reach the end of your loom like that. Awesome. So now that I'm done, I'm gonna cut this little string like that, so you have a little bit of a tail again like the first part. All right. The next step is you're gonna grab some string and you're gonna cut it just a little bit bigger than the size of the straw. So I'm gonna use this leftover string to show you. You can lay out your loom like that, lay the string, and give it a little, maybe like a few inches on each side. So right there and right there. Awesome, and I already pre-cut a few other ones, so they're all ready to go. The next step is you're gonna grab one piece of the string and you're gonna put one through each of the straws. So this part could take a little bit of time because you kind of have to push it through and keep pushing until it gets to the other side. And you can also, if you have like a plastic needle or like a sewing needle around, you can also use that to help you push it through the straw. Now that we have our strings like this in each of the straws, we're gonna tie the ends of the strings to those together basically. So you're gonna grab the end and tie it to the first string like that. And you just want to make a knot like this. Well, as you do that, the strings on the other side might get pulled a little bit, so just make sure to kind of keep pulling them out so they don't fall through the straw. You're going to continue to do that with each set of strings. So you're going to take the one that you knotted and knot it together with the other one. So you'll have a knot like that. And then you're going to do the same with the last two. Awesome. Cool, so it's going to look like this when you finish doing that. And also I forgot to mention that you want to tie the strings on the end without the tape because you're unable to push the string past the tape if you decide to use that side. All right, so you're just going to start to push. So little by little, push all of it down like this. All right, so I pushed off a piece of the string like this, and once you get it off of your loom, you can also push it down a little bit more to make it tighter and kind of fluffier like that, or you can leave it the way it is. Once you're done with that, if you have long strings like this, you want to kind of snip them off a little bit. So I'm just going to cut these right here. And then I'm going to do the same as we did on the other side and tie the strings together. So it's going to be like this. And then go ahead and do the same with the other ones. Just like that. All right, and then when you're finished, you should have a little bookmark or a little hanging. You can hang it on your wall if you want to.
Wow, that was awesome, Fiona. Thanks for showing us how to make a super cool bookmark using straw weaving technique. What a cool way to use a loom. Next, we're gonna start the second part of our STEAM adventure by making a different kind of loom using one simple piece of cardboard. With this loom, we're gonna learn how to do a very basic plain weave, and at the end, we're gonna end up with a really cool tapestry that we can either use as a coaster or we can hang it on our wall. And we'll talk about scale after we learn how to make this project so you can get inspired with different size weavings that you can make at home. All right, friends. So here are all the materials we're gonna need for today's second project. This is our piece of cardboard, and this is going to become our loom. Another materials that we're gonna need are yarn. So your kit will have some yarn in it, or you can go and get some yarn at the store, or you can unravel a sweater that you don't wear anymore. There's lots of creative ways that you can get some yarn or string. This yarn is gonna become the warp of our loom. So I'm gonna put this here. This yarn is gonna be a little bit longer than the others. It's gonna become the warp. And I'm gonna cut some different color string that's not as long because these are gonna be woven across as the weft. So this is some loom weaving terminology that we're learning today. I've also cut out some purple that I would like to weave across because I'm gonna try and do just 3 color stripes so we can see how that looks. And I have one more color, it's a very pale green, and I'm gonna cut another piece that's not very, very long that I plan on weaving across as the weft. An easy way that I remember these words is weft rhymes with left, and usually when you do the weft, you're going left on your loom. We need to measure out some lines on our cardboard because this is where our warp, which is the yarn that goes up and down vertically, is going to be placed. So go ahead and get a ruler at home and you're gonna measure across the very top and the very bottom of your piece of cardboard. So you can see on the top here that if I hold the ruler up, each little notch measures 1/2 of an inch. So go ahead and take a marker and draw the lines for 1/2 of an inch all the way across the top of your cardboard. And you're gonna wanna do the exact same thing on the bottom of your cardboard. So once you have your lines drawn on, go ahead and get a pair of scissors because we're gonna cut each line that you've drawn. And these lines don't have to be long. There's just enough to hook the yarn into. So we're gonna go ahead and hook the yarn in next. So go ahead and take your longer piece of yarn. You're gonna want maybe a piece of yarn that's about as long as your forearm to start. And you're gonna put that in the first notch so that it's in the back. So also a good way to measure it is make your yarn maybe touch the tabletop that you're working on. We are gonna take our yarn and we're gonna wrap it all around the loom. So we're gonna start at the bottom in the notch here, and then you can see I'm gonna flip it around to the back. We're gonna take it all the way up into the next notch, and we're just gonna go round and around. It's easiest to hold the loom in one hand and guide the yarn through, up and down and through each notch with your other hand. So you can see here that every single slice of this cardboard, every single notch has the thread on the bottom and the top. So when we flip it over, you'll see the same thing, and you'll also see 2 of your loose pieces of yarn. So to make the process for yourself a little easier, we're gonna go ahead and tie these together so that way when you're weaving, these loose yarns won't get in your way at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie a bow, and I'm gonna trim it because this is just extra. So next, we are gonna start weaving with our colored yarn, which is going to become the weft, because we're gonna go left to right and start weaving. In your kit, you're gonna have a tapestry needle. So a tapestry needle is a very large needle. The point is pointed, but it's not sharp. It's quite safe to use. And this part of the needle is called the eye. So when you use a tapestry needle, you will notice that the eye of this needle is very large, because when we're weaving, the yarns we use are going to be a lot thicker than sewing thread. So now that we have our weft inside of our tapestry needle, we're going to do a very similar movement that Fiona Fiber showed us, where we go under and over, and under, and over, and under, and over, and we're gonna keep going all the way through, and we're gonna pull it all the way through. Well, not all the way through. We're gonna pull it until we have a piece that is about 6 inches. And really the amount of string left over is up to you, but you do want some left over because you're gonna actually weave it across the opposite way so that it stays inside of your weaving. And I wanna demo doing this without the tapestry needle, because the tapestry needle makes it a little faster, a little easier, but you definitely don't need one to weave. So I'm gonna go over, under, over, under, over, under. You can use your fingernails to kind of guide it down. And we have
the end of our thread is nicely tucked in here. So we're gonna keep going across back and forth, and we're gonna start building our red striped color. All right, so we just finished the first color in our weaving. You can do the whole entire thing the same color. That's totally up to you. But if you want to experiment with different colors, I'm gonna show you how to do that. So our red thread ended right here. And when you're weaving, the length of your weft, the length of whatever yarn you're using to go back and forth, is going to eventually end. And so to keep going, you're basically going to start off right where your last thread ended, maybe just even a little before it. It's almost like if you were to sew something and you sew and then you want to go back a little bit and back across. That's how we make a knot, so that way our thread doesn't come undone. So I'm going to start maybe 1, 2 lines of warp thread away. And I'm gonna go in the same direction. So I'm gonna go over, under, over, under, over, and I'm gonna pull it all the way through. And we're going in the same direction because this thread, in a sense, is linking up and acting as if it was the red thread. I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this green right here. And as we keep weaving back and forth over, under, in opposite directions each time, it's going to compact itself together because we're pushing it down, and it's going to be strong. And if you have a string that's sticking up, you can go ahead and you can actually push it behind, push it in the back, and then it'll eventually get integrated and connected with the other strings. So right here, the red, I've pushed it down really tight because I want it to be so tight that you don't see any of these yellow warp strings. I'm gonna push it down so tight. But with the green, I feel like being creative. So, and then maybe doing something a little different. And I'm gonna decide that I want this weaving to be more of like an art piece. And I don't really want it to have a very, very strong structure. So I am going to keep these weft pieces a lot looser. The next color we're gonna do, which is purple, we're gonna push it down again so that it's really, really tight. So you can see the difference, the contrast. So this one's under, over, and then we're gonna keep going all the way across. So I'm gonna pull it through, just enough to push it down. And you see here that sometimes you'll get loose threads coming out. It's really not that big of a deal. You could always trim them off. But if you can, it's always a good idea to tuck them back in the middle, somewhere that's not on the edge. And I'm gonna take the side of this string, very similar to how we started. I'm going to weave it in the opposite direction, just like that. And that's how you tuck in the loose edges of a weaving. All right, so we have the 3 colors that we've chosen for the weft, which is the thread that goes across the warp. This is the warp, and then this is the weft, and together it makes our tapestry or our weaving. So this is how you finish it. You're gonna go ahead and put your loom face down. We're gonna untie it. You're gonna take your scissors, and you're gonna cut your threads. Down the middle is pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my threads down the middle. And this is what's gonna create the fringe that's gonna be on the top and the bottom of our weaving. So now we're just going to take the string, the yarn, off of each edge here. So you're gonna do the same on the other side of the cardboard. So now we're gonna tie the ends of our weaving. so that the actual thread that we've weaved across doesn't come out. So to do that, you can take a few strings together and you're just going to wrap them around your finger and you're going to make a knot. And you're gonna go ahead and make the knot as close to your weaving as possible. I kind of like to do 3 at a time because I like that amount of fringe. But you can see here, I've decided to do 3, but there's 4 endings. So it's okay to do all 4 together. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that for the bottom and the top of my weaving. Okay, so I have all of my knots ready and all of at the end of the weaving, and I have some different lengths of my fringe. So I want to trim them. If I trimmed it right here, it could look like an insect with 4 different legs. That's actually pretty cool. So I'm gonna trim, let's see, these are about 2 inches. So I'm gonna trim the fringe on this side to be 2 inches as well, so that it could be symmetrical, and maybe I can use it to scare my brother. Cause look, it's kind of furry and creepy looking. And check it out. This is the weaving that I made with very simple materials. Wow, so now that we've made a project using a piece of cardboard as a loom, I'm gonna talk about a way that you can take your weaving to the next level and make it huge. So right here, check this out. It's basically exactly what we did with our piece of cardboard, but on a bigger piece of foam board. Fiona and I actually cut up a bunch of t-shirt material. So this is cotton from t-shirts, cotton jersey. We cut it up and made it into our own yarn. This is a really great way to recycle clothes that you're not wearing anymore. You can see the warp in between the weft that goes left to right, because right here we weaved it a little looser, and here you can't see the warp at all because we squished it down and we weaved it very tight. So this is a big one that can become a rug. So that's a really big version of weaving that you can do at home.
Wow, Frankie, that was so cool. I also wanted to share one of my favorite types of weaving to make. I love to scale it down instead of up. So just like Frankie made her super duper huge, I'm gonna make mine super duper small. And my loom would look something like this, pretty tiny, fits in 2 of my fingers, and the finished product looks like this. And I decided to add a little stick at the top and also to add a string to make it a really cool necklace that you can wear. So we're gonna show you a few more examples of different types of weavings or tapestries that people make, and it's all about experimenting with your different yarns and colors and materials. This one's really cool because it's using different materials. So as you can see, there's some ribbon in there. There's these little pom-poms that are more like a wire, and someone even added a stick at the top too to hold it all together. So when you're using materials, you can see whatever's around you and grab them and try and weave it through and see what happens.
Some other stuff we have back here to share and tell with you today is there's a lot of these tapestry weavings that are made from master weavers from Oaxaca, Mexico. And it's really amazing because the yarns that they work with, these artisans, are hand dyed with natural dyes. So a lot of these patterns are very meaningful to Zapotec indigenous cultures that live in Oaxaca, Mexico. Another example is this beautiful tapestry with lots of very meaningful and symbolic patterns on them. And so another way of ending your threads is like this. It's really beautiful. It's braided and it has like a knot at the end. So there's so many masters who are weaving all over the world that we can really study and be inspired by and look up to. I felt so inspired that even when I was in school, I did a couple of projects that involved weaving too. So in this weaving, I tried weaving with electronic cords that didn't work anymore as a way to just kind of reuse them and repurpose them. And on this side, I've tried to use sticks. So you can see how it creates a different feel and a different pattern when you really explore with weaving with materials that aren't really traditional. And it doesn't just have to hang on a wall, you can actually wear your weaving. Just like the shirt that I'm wearing, and just like this beautiful bag, there's lots of ways that you can weave material and then turn it into an object that you can give and use for yourself.
Man, Frankie, that was so cool. Thanks so much for joining us today. And we hope that you'll check out more of our summer reading programs online through our Facebook and Instagram page. And you can also find more information about our summer reading program at anaheim.net/summerreading.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that really important information, Fiona. And also remember that you can always check out books from the Anaheim Public Library through our curbside service, because we have so many books about weaving and fiber and stuff like that. And when you get your books at curbside, you will get this really awesome pamphlet that has all of our programs happening for all ages this summer. And as always, remember that you can tune back into this video if you want to refresh your memory on how to weave, because we're always going to be here for you whenever you need to get that information that you need. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you, Frankie.
Yes.